Welcome back to the podcast. This is 360 and Sundry. I wanted to maybe tell my story. So I started off, I talked about relaxing and how to relax when you've been overstressed. Maybe some things you could use, techniques you could use to help get you down to the point where you could actually relax. Because and then the things that sort of cover up our happiness and uncovering them by letting go of these things like guilt, resentment, shame, these anyway. So I thought I'd tell my story because what gives me, like, what do I know? And the truth is, I don't really know a whole lot, but I do have some life experience that has been, I mean, I've learned something over the years here. So I would like to tell, I'll start with the very defining time in my life when I was 28 years old. And my friend threw this book at me and said, "You need to read this." And this life before I read the book and she threw it at me and all that, it kind of looked like this. I did classes, I had low grades in school. I made it to grade 12, but I failed to graduate out of grade 12. So I didn't even have a high school education. It's like the diploma. I smoked and I drank some and I smoked marijuana some and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I didn't eat very well. I was very inactive. I didn't even go places. Like, I didn't go to a whole lot of places. I didn't travel or do much of anything, to be honest. And where work was concerned, any job that I had lasted maybe no more than 6 months and to a year before I either quit myself or I was fired, let go. Relationships kind of similar, but the relationships were broken and destructive. And they all ended within 6 months to, say, 3 years. And so by the time my friend threw this book at me, I was divorced with children on social assistance, and I was licking my wounds I'm on the couch like a couch potato, licking my wounds from yet another broken and destructive relationship. And I had no drive, no ambition, no direction, no sense of purpose whatsoever. That's where I was when she threw the book at me. Now, I will sort of paint a picture after that, and just starting from right directly after that, I got myself enrolled into a night class. And I went back to school and got my grade 12, completed my grade 12. And I went, and then from there, I ended up in a relationship that lasted 30 years. I went and got involved in music, and I was in the music industry in many different capacities for probably about 30 years. I started a cleaning business, and I did that as well as music because I could kind of juggle both of those things. And I also did that for 25, 30 years. Actually, my daughter and I are now still doing that, cleaning. That's like I'm semi-retired. And I've traveled, I've been to Australia, I lived in Vancouver, I've been from Vancouver Island all the way to Newfoundland in Canada, I've been to Seattle, and I've been to Vegas, and I've been to New York, and I've been to Australia, to Scotland and Italy, and been to the Florida Keys and Jamaica and around, that part of the neck of the woods. And so I've done quite a bit of traveling since then. There's places I can't even think of right now that I'm trying to do this kind of off the cuff. So I just started truly living life and have made all these kinds of changes. I don't even know where to begin. There's just so much to it. Whereas back then, the only thing that I knew how to do really well was go out with my friends and drink and have a good time, party. I knew how to do that really well. And then I read the book. Now, the book was called The Psychology of Winning by Dr. Dennis Waitley. There's two things that the book said that I was able to kind of grab onto, and why so many changes took place. Because, I quit smoking, by the way. I quit smoking when I was just a couple of years after reading the book. And I took up jogging and swimming, and I forgot all about that part. And so life after included all of that stuff. I was in better shape when I was 32 than I ever was in my whole, like, any time before that. So a lot of changes happened after this. And I come well out of my comfort zone. Sometimes, and I think at some point, a little bit too far out of my comfort zone. Eventually, I sort of hooked on to Pema Chodron, and I did one of her little courses on, and she talked about, like, the comfort zone, the challenge zone, and then there's the danger zone. And I think I made it to the danger zone a little bit now and then, a couple times, and managed to kind of pull myself back into a safer place. But there were two things in the book that I think were able to I was able to grab onto, that made me choose to actually do the things that I did afterwards. Because basically the next day after reading the book, I just went to the book, opened it up, and I just started doing everything it said to do. One of the things that he said in the book was that it didn't take any more energy to live the life of a winner than it did to live the life of a loser. And I really kind of at this point believed that I was lazy. I think the first time I was ever told that I was lazy, I was probably 3 or 4 years old. And so this was something that was pretty deeply ingrained. So when I read that it didn't take any more energy to live the life of a winner, then obviously being lazy is irrelevant. So that's good. I don't have to expend any more energy. That's good. And the second thing was that what it was suggesting was that you are living the life you're living because you believe you are that. Like, in other words, if you're living the life of a loser, it's because you believe you're a loser. And I was like, okay, wait a minute now. You're saying that I wouldn't be having these results except for the fact that I believe. So it's not, I believe I'm not good enough. But the reason I'm not good enough is only because I believe I'm not good enough. There was something about that it gave me the what if I'm wrong, and the only reason I'm not good enough is because I believe I'm not good enough. Well, it seems to me that if I can turn that around and believe that I am good enough, well, then suddenly I am good enough. And my results will prove that. I couldn't go from believing I'm not good enough or that I was a loser to just believing I was a winner. And that's too much of a stretch to just jump from this to that. But I went on, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong and I actually am good enough, and my problem is simply that I just don't believe it. So that's how I took my first steps. What if I'm wrong and I am good enough? So I started to live my life directly after reading this book. I really started living my life much more consciously and much more deliberately. Because before that, I was just bouncing around impulsively, I didn't even, I remember like realizing that it was basically saying you're choosing to this life that you're living. And I was like, oh, I'm choosing this. And once I understood that I was choosing it, that I could choose something else. So those were the reasons why I think I was able to get really hooked onto this and make and push myself forward into doing something different. Now I started with the mental, like planning, visioning, setting goals and doing all of that. And then eventually I moved into the physical, where I quit smoking and started eating well and took up like jog and swim and good grief, go to the gym. Like I said, and then eventually it did lead me to, it wasn't because I was searching for it, but I stumbled upon the spiritual. I had met someone who introduced me to Louise Hay, and Louise Hay in her book had said that you can start with the spiritual and it'll move into the physical and the mental, or you might start with the mental, or you might, wherever you begin, you might start with physically, just eating better and doing the jogging and so on. You might do that, but wherever you begin, it is going to spread into the three arenas. So I'll call them the three arenas for right now. And that is how it happened. I started with the mental, the logic, using, setting goals and visualizations and so on, and working on the thought processes. And then eventually it led me to the physical and then to the spiritual. So I'm going to next time talk about the mental work and the thought processes that you're working on, positive thinking. A friend of mine said, you can either think your way into heaven or you can think your way into hell. And I can't tell you how true that is. It's just true. So we'll talk about positive, like affirmations, visualizations, how they work, and we'll go from there. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment if you have anything you want to bring up and talk and mention. I'm please respectfully do so. I'll see you next time.